Todd Hougaard. I am the Student Leadership Commissioner for the state, and I'm also with Riverton High School PTSA and Elk Ridge Middle School PTSA. So in Utah, PTSA is what we call all of our PTAs at the secondary school level. So middle schools and high schools and junior highs. And so adding the S to PTA obviously means you add in the student. And you're trying to get the students involved as best you can. Because the next step in PTA is helping the student learn to advocate for themselves. And so as they grow older and they're able to do those things, then the advocacy that we're having to do all the time for them can be more the student. So they learn service, they learn leadership, they learn to speak up. You know, if you do stuff with students, you'll realize when you start, there's not a whole lot coming back from them. They're just sitting there waiting to see what's in it for them. Do they really want to be there? And if you can make it, as I learned from some of the students today, if you make it fun for them, you can get something out of it and give them something to do, then they'll participate. And that's what PTSA to me is all about, getting the students to participate and plan things and do things instead of having the parents always have to do it for them. So at the state level, you know, we're all Utah PTA, so I'm the Utah PTA Student Leadership Commissioner. So that's for all the students, but really I do focus just on the secondary schools, and my focus is to help the parents learn how to hand over the reins to the kids. And it's hard to do because it's fun as a parent to be in charge of Battle of the Bands or to be in charge of the things that you guys do at your school because you're used to it, and it's so much easier to do it on your own. But they need to learn how to do these things, and the school, the PTSA, is a safe place for them to learn how to do these things. And the growth that you see in some of these kids is just amazing. So on a state level, we try and do things that all of the schools can do together. You know, like Battle of the Bands, you start out at your school. If you advance, you go to multi-region, so you're getting involved with more students from other schools, and then you get to the state level and you're doing it with kids from throughout the state. We have a student leadership committee that could be with students throughout the whole state, meeting together, planning things together for students throughout all of Utah. And to me, that would be amazing, the more students that we could get involved. And we could get kids down in St. George and Logan and Price and Salt Lake, Tooele. You know, we've all learned how to do things online this year. We can do it online. And you guys can all have a say in what happens. And we can do things in your area with not just your school and your small group, but more kids throughout the state. So that's the vision here, is to try and get more kids involved, help them feel like they belong and they're connected. So, elementary school with the PTA, you have a whole lot of interaction with parents. You're in the classroom and you're doing stuff all the time and you're in charge, and it goes great because you're doing everything. And then your kid goes to middle school or junior high and you're like, what do I do? They don't want me there in their classroom. My kid no longer wants to tell me everything that's going on at school, so how can I be involved in their life and let them know that I care about them? So I think it's on you. You need to sort of decide, I'm going to do this. There's the PTSA adults at your school that are doing things, and you need to say, I'm willing to help, and there's lots of ways to help. We do Red Ribbon Week is one way that you can help. We always do a parent day or like share your job thing at school. I think a lot of schools do stuff like that. So find an activity that matches up with your interests and be willing to help. and actually be willing to help lead it if you need to. But remember, it's PTSA, so even though you're leading it, a big thing is to try and get some of the kids involved. So find something that you're passionate about, find an activity at your school that matches with that, and then do your best to get kids involved in those activities that you do. So my first year being involved with Battle of Bands, one of the bands that made it to state, so they were good, was this duo of girls from Stansbury Park High School. And I thought they were amazing, but the way we have it judged, I felt they didn't stand a chance going up against all these other bands. And so I sort of felt like there's probably some kids out there that feel the same way. I can't compete against a whole band. It's just me and my guitar or me and my ukulele. So we have what's called the open mic competition that we've added, and I think it's amazing to hear some of these kids that sing amazingly, and a lot of them do their own songs, that write their own songs. And you know, you see every year kids from Utah on The Voice or American Idol and these things, and I just knew that there were these kids out there that needed a place to show their talent. And so we have the open mic competition for them to be able to do that. This year we have 8 of them at state, and they're going to knock your socks off if you see them. The first Battle of Bands was 19 years ago, and it was at Cottonwood High School, and they limited it to the first 15 bands that called up and said, we've got a band. And then that grew, and they couldn't do it just with that because it wasn't fair. So now you have a competition at your school. If you have more than one band or one open mic competitor, you have to do one at your school. Then your winners go to a multi-region. So there's 4 multi-regions if we have them. This year we only had 3 because one of the multi-regions down south, and guys down south, we need more bands from you guys. So you go to your multi-region, and then they send usually the top 3 bands from their region, and now their top 3 open mic competitors to state. And so then this year, because of how things all happened, we're going to have 13 bands at state and 8 open mic performers. And it's amazing to watch these kids and how good they are. You know, some of them, yeah, they need a little work, I will admit. Some of the local schools you go to, they fill it out with like student body officers doing a group just because you need another group, and they're playing the harmonica or combs or doing all sorts of weird stuff. But the kids love it. The kids love doing fun stuff together, and that's part of it at the school level. Not necessarily all about the talent, it's about having fun and doing things together. So there's a lot of different clubs, a lot of different things that you can get involved with at school, especially in high school. So why the PTSA? What role does that play when there's all these other things you could do? And I guess my answer to it is you got the student body officers that are the leaders of the school, supposedly. And if you're in high school, I think you'll admit most of them get there because they're popular. And if all you have throughout your whole life is the person who's popular and most popular is leading and doing things, that isn't what you really want. And that's not what you're going to have, because those popular people aren't always popular. You know, 5 years from now, what's popular today is not popular anymore. So if you're basing things based on popularity, you learn that's not a good model. What PTSA does is help these kids that aren't necessarily popular. They can be. But there's these leadership roles that are going missing in your school. And the PTSA should be sort of that bridge between adults, you know, parents, teachers, and administrators at your school, and the students. We should be the bridge for all those students to see, help us understand, why are our parents asking us to do these kind of things? Why do the teachers and adults that are around us look at things this way? And I think it helps the students mature a little faster if they can get involved with what parents are trying to do for their kids, instead of just thinking, this is what kids want. I want root beer and all drinking fountains. That's great, you know? I think PTSA sort of grounds the kids, helps give them a mature perspective, but they're also helping to bring the kids' perspective, the student perspective, to the adults who maybe we're a little too far up in the mature perspective and we don't always have fun. So I think they're the bridge. PTSA kids can be the bridge to everything in our school. Helps other student groups do things with other student groups, help parents and teachers connect with the students. I think they're the bridge. Well, students should be a part of PTSA because it's fun and it makes a difference. I think that's what students actually are looking for is, one, they want to have fun, yes, but they also want to make a difference, and I should add a positive difference, because you can make a difference and it's not always so positive. And you know, I think they're looking for that. They just don't know where to find it. And so if we can help them understand and see a purpose to being a part of PTSA, give them a role, give them a job, and help them have fun. Yeah, we talked about what is PTSA, and to me it's a bridge between the adults and the students, helping the students become more mature, be able to advocate for themselves. Sometimes our kids aren't willing to speak out and speak up for themselves. I think that's one reason to be a part of PTSA. Learn those skills, learn how to deal with issues that are facing adults, but that they'll soon be facing as well. Be able to take on some of the knowledge that we have as adults in dealing with these issues, so that when they're faced with them, they'll be able to handle them. They also want a place where they can have fun, and PTSA should be fun. We should find ways for it to be fun for the kids. Find ways that they can do fun activities, but they're also activities that make a positive difference at your school or in your community. If we can make opportunities available for them to communicate, to connect with members of the community, that is fantastic. Doing service projects. I know PTSAs I've been involved with have done service projects, especially at Christmas time, where they go to old folks' homes, as I call them, or care facilities, and you see these kids connect with 80-year-old grandparents that aren't theirs, but it makes a difference in both of their lives. So PTSA is there to help them have fun, help them make a positive difference in their community and at their school, and help them be prepared to face issues as an adult that they need to be able to handle. So when you look at the other clubs and things at your school, who are in those clubs? It's all students, right? So there's one club that sort of brings parents into the mix. You know, there's not a lot of parents in it when you're meeting as a student group usually, but there's 2 or 3. And then you as students can also be a part of the school PTSA board. And so this is the one club that sort of brings them together and brings in a little bit maturity with the adults. You're bringing in the student perspective and probably some of the fun, and that's the difference between PTSA and all the other clubs. You know, you're going to have 1 or 2 adults in those clubs that are supervising it, but you're not really connecting to the greater population of the adults. Whereas in the PTSA, You know, you may just have those 3 or 4 there with you, but you are connecting with the PTSA board, who's connecting with all the parents, the teachers. So you're connecting all of the school together instead of just little cliques and little niches across the school. If you're a student at your school and it has a PTSA, you know, the best way to get involved is find out what activities they're doing and try and become involved. If they have a student group, become involved with the student group. You know, maybe they meet once a month or once a week during lunch or after school. Find out when they do it, and then try and be one of the guys that decides, let's do something with another group, or, you know, try and do something different than you've been doing. You know, if it's not working very well at your school, you know, don't do things the same way. Let's find a new way to approach it. One way is to try and become a little bit more involved with the student body officers. So one recommendation I would have is to designate, or have your school designate, one of the student body officers as a PTSA representative or contact, and sort of drive things through him. So then whoever that student body officer is, maybe they go to the PTSA group so that they know what PTSA is doing, and they can coordinate some things together with the student body officers, so you're not competing against each other, you're working together. I think that's an important thing, is not to think that we're competing with the other student groups. PTSA, we're advocating for all students. So actually, we're a part of every group at your school. So try and be that. You know, support the girls' soccer team that has small crowds. You know, a lot of times maybe the best way to do it is who's in your PTSA student group. Find something they do other than PTSA and support them in that activity. So if they're in drama, support them in their drama production or whatever. If they're on the track team, go watch the track team. How many students at school go and support the track team? You know, PTSA can be that. If you look at members of the PTA board for the state, you know, a lot of us are older. A lot of us, our kids are graduated. Mine aren't all graduated, but they are definitely getting older. And being a part of PTSA for me was a choice. I could have stayed on one side and worked with the parents, but I saw this opportunity, and I saw that this is where I wanted to put my focus and put my efforts, because to me, it's all about the kids. If you ask Betty Shaw, who was in this position before me and sort of a mentor to me, it's all about the kids. And when you're able to see that you make a difference in the lives of these students, it can't help but make you feel better about the world, better about what you're doing, and makes you feel like you'll be in better hands than if you hadn't have done anything. So I encourage you to be a part of PTSA. Help the students be prepared for tomorrow so they can take care of us and make the world a better place.